Good morning. I'm John Ellsworth, founder of Success Strategies Incorporated and the creator of the Success Strategies Advantage. And today I want to talk to you about what I entitled, Yes, You Can. I was contacted recently by a reader of one of my recent blogs, and in his message to me, he said he just wasn't quite sure if he could get there, as he called it. I wasn't sure exactly what he meant, so I pursued it a little bit for more detail. And what he referred to was, he said, based on the challenges he's having with his current lender, and those may be justified, of course, and some cash flow challenges he was having, he felt his business might not allow him to get to the end point where he wanted to be. Well, my response to him initially was to share with him a quote from Henry Ford, who I thought this was very fitting when he said, "Whether you think you can or think you can't, you're probably correct." And I thought I would share that with him because I thought that's a very fitting comment for his concern. I wasn't minimizing his concern, but I wanted him to think about not if he could make it, but how he could make it. And one of the things I suggested to him, as you've heard me say in other videos, is he needed to clearly identify his why he wanted to do what he wanted to do with his business. And I can't share with you exactly what he wanted to do with his business. That wouldn't be fair to him. But I think it's important that he needed to identify why he wanted to accomplish the objective that he had set before himself and before me at this point. Because I think it's key, it's crucial. If you know your why, the how part becomes so much easier. And you could say, well, I heard a motivational speaker say that one time too, John, and I probably have as well. That's where I got it from. But this is not just theory. This is real life, folks. This is real life, field-tested plan of action that's been tested over the last 20 years. I've seen clients going in 2009, for example, from losing millions of dollars in 2009 to being profitable over the next 2 or 3 years, putting themselves in a strong position financially and bouncing back to where they could get refinanced or they could expand with their financing. It made for some pretty magnificent stories. But I think the key is threefold. Number one, I think it's important that we only focus on what we can control. That doesn't mean we blow off or ignore the things we can't control. We have to recognize them, of course. But I think our primary focus needs to be on what we can indeed control. Number two, I think we need to make steady progress. Not 2 steps forward, 3 steps back, but we need to focus on making steady progress. Sometimes, and you know this in your own business, because I do in mine as well, sometimes things don't go quite as smoothly or as quickly, never as quickly as we want when we're moving forward. But the key is to make steady progress so we don't get depressed about the angle or direction of our business. And then ultimately, I think the third step is you need to continually get better. Because that's the key to success in life. We need to constantly get better. We need to get better, not be bitter about challenges we have, but get better. And eventually that can lead to new things and new financing that you may need to grow your business. One thing I think that's important to remember, did we know exactly how all of this would turn out? These people that turned around multi-million-dollar return compared to what they lost in 2009? No, not really. We didn't know. No one knows for sure. But I know one thing, and that is I know what would happen if we didn't do anything. I think it takes you back to that definition of insanity, not changing anything at all and expecting different results. That definitely is the definition of insanity. You've heard me before talk about Viktor Frankl, an Auschwitz survivor, and I think his biggest message, it's a huge message, and if you haven't read his book, Man's Search for Meaning, I highly recommend you get it. It is a touching story, And there's a lot of benefits you can get from reading it. I've read it 3 or 4 times, and I read it every couple of years just because I think it's such a fantastic message that he shares from his time at Auschwitz. But the things that he points out that I think are really critical is, number one, his old life was over. He recognized it would never be the same, and his new life was going to be vastly different. 2 things I should point out for that, because it's true for you and me as well. Number one, is this new life going to be scary? Heck yes, it's very scary. It's something we've never experienced before. So just recognize that and move forward. Because the good news, point number 2, the good news is that the score is 0-0. So it doesn't matter if we lost the last 3 games. It doesn't matter if we lost the last game in a big way. What matters is that this is a new game, as he called it, a new life, a new game, and the score is 0-0. So you get a clean, fresh start. But there's some things you need to do. 3 things in particular. First of all, develop a plan for success. As I said earlier, point number 2, know your why. If you know why you're doing something, determining how to get to your objective or your goal is a whole lot easier. And point number 3 is, I think you need to remember that every journey begins with the first step. So I will leave you with this thought. What's your first step? What's the next step you need to take to get your business from point A to point B? And as you ponder that question and try to identify what specifically your first step is, I would suggest we all take the advice of Theodore Roosevelt, who said, and I quote, "Do what you can with what you have wherever you are." Again, do what you can with what you have wherever you are. End of quote. I think it's great advice for all of us. Again, I'm John Ellsworth, founder of Success Strategies Incorporated, creator of the Success Strategies Advantage, and I, as usual, and always will, wish you the best of success. Thank you very much.